we never ask, where do you come from?
Вишиванка, борщ and вареники.
Oh, this is from Ukraine. Today we have no excuse to say, oh, our countries are far away. We pick up the phone and we see each other. I don't buy French milk. I buy Ukrainian молоко.
Hello world, it's Kyiv Not Kiev on the line. My name is Polina Bachuk and this is my friend and fellow Tatiana Haiduk.
Today we have perhaps the most exotic destination Kyiv Not Kiev has ever been to. We are in Brazil and we are happy to have an incredible and honorable guest, Mr. Ambassador of Brazil to Ukraine, Norton de Andrade Mello Rapesta. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here in my humble house, but with this beautiful view of Kyiv. This is one of the best, if not the best view of Kyiv, huh?
This is really amazing.
It is.
So let's start with my favorite question that we developed. Mr. Ambassador, we would like to talk about the Ukrainian Brazilians, and this year, as you already told us, marks 130 years of Ukrainian emigration to Brazil. And today in Brazil live Ukrainians of the fourth and fifth generations of those Ukrainians, but they still follow the traditions and they still speak Ukrainian, probably at work and at home. So do indigenous Brazilians adopt something from the Ukrainian culture, and how does the presence of such a large diaspora in Brazil keep our countries that are so geographically distant from one another still in close contact?
Well, first we have to understand what are indigenous in Brazil. Indigenous in Brazil are those who inhabited this region since before 1500, when the Portuguese arrived there. Besides them, Brazil is a melting pot of nationalities, of cultures, of religions. So we never ask, where do you come from? We never say, I'm Ukrainian Brazilian, or I'm a Spanish Brazilian, or I'm whatever Brazilian. We are all Brazilians. And we know that besides these indigenous people, we all come from somewhere in first, second, third, fifth, sixth generation. So my father was an immigrant. My mother's family, of course, there was Dutch, Portuguese, etc. in the middle, lots of generations. And my father was from Argentina. My grandparents moved to Argentina from Spain, and this is it. So sometimes it's difficult to pinpoint what is, oh, this is from Ukraine, because it's so in our lifestyle. No? As someone told me, you told me that a varenki with the beans, black beans. I have never tried this with the black beans in Brazil because I come from another region. I come from Rio de Janeiro. There we don't have this, the varenki, this culture. So it's difficult to pinpoint, but as you're going to see, and probably you would like to share with your viewers, the national anthem of Ukraine that the Poltava group recorded in Brazil, in Ukrainian. It seems that it's a perfect Ukrainian, and dressed with the local traditional vishvankas. So we are all Brazilians, but we also, some communities, some diasporas, they are very proud of their origins. And the Ukrainian one is, they are very proud of their origins.
And there are whole regions, I believe, like Parana state, right, inhabited mostly by Brazilians of Ukrainian origins, and these are well-known centers, kind of Ukrainian culture there, because one can go there to see vyshivankas, to taste traditional Ukrainian dishes like borscht and vareniki. And yes, we've mentioned that in addition to kind of traditional food like vareniki with cheese or potatoes, we have those with Brazil black beans, feijão. Am I right?
Feijão.
Feijão. well, that's a great mix of two cultures. Are there any other examples of how Brazilian and Ukrainian cultures mix together to give a wonderful splash of something new we don't know here in Ukraine?
Me neither. Sorry to say, but I'm ready to investigate this. For example, this varenike with black beans, I have never eaten. I'll try to prepare it here to see how it tastes and add other things. Could be interesting, yeah, for sure. But this is the cuisine in Brazil is a little bit regionalized. So we have the south, because the south of Brazil is more, let's say, European weather and European colonization sooner, no, from the 19th century. And then in the northeast of Brazil is more tropical climate, different approach to the cuisine. But no, I really don't know other types of food that merged to Brazil and was adapted to local products. But the diaspora is spread all over Brazil. I mean, so not only in Parana, there are families that went to Rio de Janeiro, for example. I have a long old friend of mine, Sidney Tendler, is a famous artist, painter, and a photographer. And his family went to Rio de Janeiro, where I was born as well. We went to school together. So there's not this concentration. Maybe at the beginning, because they were more agricultural, with agricultural origins, they went to the southern part of Brazil where they were demanded to work in the farms.
Now let's probably slightly move from cookery to politics, from food to some politics. Ukrainians are always proud of other Ukrainians who hold some great governmental positions or something. So talking about the Ukrainian Brazilians or Brazilian Ukrainians, are there any who hold governmental positions in Brazil, or do you know someone who are leading the municipalities or some great personalities in culture or in sport?
No, because we never asked the origins. So, for example, this example I gave you, Tendler, no? From Mohilev Podilsky. I just learned that his father, and we know each other for 40 years, that his family came from Ukraine. When he learned it through Facebook that I was moving here, I said, "Oh, my family came from that." So we do ask. The most notorious example of Ukrainian Brazilian is Clarice Lispector. She was a writer that is very famous, very adored in Brazil. She died some years ago. This is the most, because we know because she was asked
during the interviews.
The family. But there are others. There are journalists. There are. But it's difficult because we don't say, they never say, I'm Ukrainian Brazilian. We're Brazilians. And so, and names, for example, my first name, Norton, is not, you say that, oh, but this is not a Brazilian name. What would be a Brazilian name? A Portuguese name? No, José, João, Joseph, John. And my family name is not what could be considered a Brazilian name, Rapesta. Well, this is Italian. So my first name, the origin it's in UK. Comes from, it was a family name that was transformed in first name, and means North Town. So, and I am Brazilian. So, and in my middle name, Andrade Mello, my mother's name. Oh, this is Brazilian. Well, because it's Portuguese, so it's connected to Portugal, to Portuguese name now. Anyway, that's why it's difficult to say, oh, this guy is Ukrainian, that guy is...
That's like not typical for Ukrainians not to tell everyone that they are Ukrainians.
That's quite a really interesting peculiarity about Brazilians of Ukrainian origin living in Brazil and all the other nations that inhabit this beautiful country.
Yeah, so that's why we never say, I'm Ukrainian Brazilian. I'm Brazilian.
So unlike I'm a Canadian Ukrainian, as people say, for example, in Canada.
Yeah, no, I'm Brazilian. And then If the subject comes out and says, where do your family come from? Oh, my family comes from Ukraine.
Okay.
Or from my case, Spain, Argentina, Spain. This is it. For example, in a religious perspective, we can be on a table having a coffee with a Jew, a Muslim, a Catholic, whatever, Orthodox, etc. And then one day the Muslim said, oh, so sorry guys, it's prayer time. Okay, bye, see you tomorrow. The Jew said, okay, it's Shabbat, it's whatever. Whatever. Oh, are you Jew? Oh, are you Catholic? Are you Orthodox? Are you this? Never ask these things in Brazil.
I've seen the statistics, and it shows that Parana state, where Ukrainians, people of Ukrainian origins, compactly lives, ranks in the top 5 of richest states of Brazil. Am I right?
Yeah.
We Ukrainians are used to considering our fellow citizens as very hardworking people. And I'm just wondering, Mr. Ambassador, do you think that is this diligence of Ukrainians that make Parana so successful in terms of welfare,
it's an important contribution, yes, because the immigrants that arrived in Brazil, in this region, came from Germany, from Poland, from Ukraine, from Hungary, this region, Bessarabia as well. They went there looking for new lives. Imagine end of 19th century, beginning of 20th century, all the problems that Europe was going through, even the Bolshevik Revolution arriving here, problems, for example, religious problems that we're facing here, they were escaping to another world to rebuild their life or build their life. So they put all their strength and tradition and experience to build something new. And so Brazil is built in this, a kind of, not a pyramid, but a hill that is put all this effort together to build a country from different regions. Each one bringing their skills, their traditions, because tradition helps, history helps, education helps, culture helps. And Brazil is being built like this.
From the past to the present, the two presidents, the two leaders of our countries, Volodymyr Zelensky and Jair Bolsonaro, held a meeting last year. However, this meeting was neither in Brazil nor in Ukraine because it was in Japan. So our question is, what should be on the agenda so that the leader of Brazil comes to Kyiv to discuss it with President Zelensky, or is it already in his plans?
It was in his plans. They spoke last year by the phone, on the phone, by November, and they promised to visit each other. But it's still pandemic conditions, avoided him to come here, but it's in the plans, either President Bolsonaro's visit here, but also President Zelensky's visit to South America, because it's when we speak about distance, what is the distance between our countries today that we can catch a plane and in let's say 2 hours and a half to 3 hours and a half to Barcelona and 9 hours to Sao Paulo? Imagine those emigrants, that left Ukraine in the beginning of last century. They had to take what? Train? Yes, but imagine the trains at that time. To go where? To go to France, to go to Italy. How to reach these places? And how to, given this example from where he lived, were there highways? No highways, no, imagine
imagine the ships.
The ships. And so I don't agree with anybody that says, oh, our countries are far away from each other. Not today, because our ancestors traveled. My grandmother traveled from Barcelona to Buenos Aires in 1902, and it was not in first class. It was in third class. Imagine the conditions. So today we have no excuse to say our countries are far away. We pick up the phone and we see each other. Brazil, here, everywhere in the world. So no, not this.
So the visits are planned, or at least.
The visit is planned. Maybe they could meet now in the United Nations in September as well. There is this position. But his son, who is a member of parliament, visited Kiev beginning of July. The MP Eduardo Bolsonaro was a very fruitful visit, very important. And there is more to come. More visitors, more ministers to come and visit here. But we have also to bring them there.
We'll try to.
Help me.
Oh, we'll do our best. As for the bilateral agenda, over the years, two our countries, Brazil and Ukraine, were involved deeply into cooperation in space industry. And we know about this project, a joint project aimed at launching Cyclone series Ukrainian carrier rockets from Alcantara Cosmodrome in Brazil. The cooperation lasted for about 10 years. Then in 2015, Brazil unanimously denounced the cooperation agreement. And please help me, why did it happen? Because some people say that this decision was somehow affected by Russian Federation. You may not agree with that, so I would be happy to hear what happened and happy to tell our viewers. But as for that, it seems like bilateral cooperation in the sphere of space industry is back to the bilateral agenda, which is actually great news because this was the subject of a conversation between two our presidents in Japan, and I know you visited P.1 recently. So should we expect for a revival of cooperation in this sphere?
Yes, Brazil is a sovereign and important economy, and would never be pushed to denounce to break a contract like this by another country. No, we are sovereign enough to know what to do. My opinion, according to some contacts I had here and there, the problem with Cyclone was management difficulties, that misunderstanding and miscomprehension. And, so the two sides are working hard now to clean this, the past and the passive that remain, to rebuild a new story. And we have the chance to have, I say that he's the most Brazilian Ukrainian I have met, who lived there in this project for many years, 7, 8 years. He speaks a perfect Portuguese. And now he's the CEO of the space, Ukrainian Space Agency, who's Vladimir Taftai. So this helps a lot because he speaks Portuguese, he understands the culture, and he's at the head of the space agency. And he has been to Brazil already, recently in May or April, May, with the delegation, high-level delegation, to unblock this and other subjects. So, and I'm sure that we will rebuild a cooperation because it's $1 billion business. It's $1 billion business.
So we'll try to give a new start to what was done before 2015.
Learning with the mistakes.
So it's that
learning with the mistakes and trying to building another in another format, in another way that more with, let's say, more business oriented. You know? In our cooperation, bilateral cooperation, there has different fields of interest. In defense, for example, we have lots of areas, aspects that we are interested in your technology and vice versa. So, but we have to build it with the solid base. The solid base is we have to know more and more each other, more visits, more contacts. For example, for this, the embassy with the Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Brazilian Trade Promotion Agency, we are organizing and the MFA and MFA here and Ukrainian embassy. We are organizing the 15th of September web seminar on business. Business.
Let me bring you back to the previous question. Let's imagine a situation. If President Bolsonaro, after a wonderful phone conversation with President Zelensky, agreed to come to Kiev next week, I believe that it would be you who will prepare the agenda for the presidential
Yeah,
working
together
visit.
with Minister of Foreign
What
Affairs.
would be in the agenda?
What would be in the agenda? The potentialities of bilateral business, because there's still some old mentality to say, I sell you everything I have to offer you, and I don't buy from you. Wrong, because the ship that takes things here takes back. And then we have to use our capacities, our know-hows in different areas. For example, Brazil has a huge technology and know-how in agribusiness. We are the first exporters of beef, of chicken. So all over the world, to Arab countries, to other countries, and pork as well. As you export pork, for example, you know where is the first destination of Ukrainian pork?
Brazil, I believe.
No, United Arab Emirates, for example. So we have to think outside the box. I mean, I sell you bananas and you sell me strawberries. No. Or you sell me rockets and I sell you fuel. No. Let's think outside the box. And so we would work on these 4 sectors that we are preparing a seminar, as I said before, with the Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and other partners, focusing in 4 sectors. IT, you are very good in IT, and we are good in IT as well. So we can merge in some parts of IT. Agribusiness, as I was telling you, I normally go to the supermarket and buy Ukrainian products. I don't buy French butter. I buy Ukrainian butter. I don't buy French Moloch milk. I buy Ukrainian moloko. You see, because you have very good products here. So, IT, agribusiness, investments. So, to bring companies to invest in Ukraine, in the agribusiness, in the wood sector, in the whatever, these are up to the businessman to identify, and also health and pharmaceutical products. So these are the first 4 areas that we have identified as targets that we think will work very well.
Good, good.
This is wrong, this is bad, this is bad. Come on. Do you have a mirror in your house? From wine to rockets.
Those famous rocket stores in Brazil.
Oh, great. Oh, it's dangerous. Because of the war. Because... Huh? What?
In Brazil, a snake swallowed a member of parliament.
Only one?